Emergency workers searched through the rubble of a dormitory building for survivors after Russian shelling of a residential district in the city of Kharkiv. According to Ukrainian officials, at least 7 people were killed in the strike. President Zelensky called it a cynical attack on civilians. Zelensky in his nightly address focused on diplomatic indicators he said reflected the resilience of the Ukraine state, from the arrival of UN Chief Antonio Guterres and Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan for talks on the situation at the Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant, to 55 ambassadorial missions resuming their work in Kyiv. On the grain crisis front, 4 more vessels carrying agricultural products have sailed from ports in Ukraine. Turkish state media said the ships departed Odessa and Chernozemsk on Wednesday, carrying sunflower meal, sunflower oil and corn. They're the latest vessels to leave Ukraine under the terms of a grain export deal agreed between the UN, Ukraine, Turkey and Russia last month. Elsewhere, and footage released by Russian media shows that residential construction by the Russian military is in full swing in one of the most heavily bombed areas of the occupied city of Mariupol.
Ukraine's state emergency service has been drilling first aid exercises in the case of a nuclear accident. That's as concerns surrounding Zaporizhzhia's power plant grow. Ukrainian technicians have stayed at the Russian-held nuclear power plants despite pressure from Russian soldiers to make sure that the Chernobyl-style disaster isn't repeated.
Of course, we understand that we're dealing with a terrorist state, so we must understand that all responsibility for what is currently happening at the station and for any scenarios that are unfolding lies with the Russian Federation, and we have to prepare for any possible scenarios in connection with this.
Russia and Ukraine accuse each other of shelling the Zaporizhzhia plant, the largest of its kind in Europe. International leaders, including NATO's Secretary-General, have called for inspections of the site. It's expected to top the agenda of talks on Thursday with the UN, Ukraine and Turkey.
The seizure of the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant by Russian forces poses a serious threat to the safety and the security of this facility, raises the risks of a nuclear accident or incident, and endangers the population of Ukraine, of neighbouring countries and of the international community.
In Nikopol, residents feel the brutality of war. They're just a couple of kilometres away from the plant and fear finding themselves at the heart of a nuclear disaster.
I was there, but my son managed to drag me out just in time. But he didn't have time for my husband. My husband was buried under the rubble. The rocket landed right where he was laying in bed. His legs were torn off.
In Odessa, 3 people were injured after Russian shells hit a recreation centre. And in Donetsk, 2 were killed and 7 injured after towns and villages were shelled. Meanwhile, Ukraine claims it hit a Russian base in occupied Nova Kakhovka, killing 12 soldiers and putting pressure on the Kremlin's fighters in the south.